Hello everyone and welcome to Cornwall Pocket Farm. It is a beautiful afternoon. We are in spring and we've got buds bursting. I've got seedlings all down here. I've got things growing everywhere. The garden is really coming into life, which is beautiful. What we also have coming to life is a bunch of flies. We have chickens and we have chicken poo, and that attracts the flies. And of course in the spring everything is coming to life, so the flies are all breeding and there's, flies everywhere. So this became a problem last spring. We have flies, really they come out in spring and autumn when it's warm and moist. Not so much in the summer because it's pretty hot and dry here. And in the winter we don't really have the flies either. So the shoulder seasons are when we get this fly problem. Last year it happened and I needed to do something about it. And I did some research, and in New Zealand the option seemed to be that you get the pest control people around and they will squirt your entire house with chemicals, and then anything that lands on this surface will die instantly and drop to the floor and then presumably be eaten by other things or decompose in your soil. Not really what I wanted on the pocket farm. So that was out. Any other solution that they offered also seemed to involve a bunch of chemicals being squirted about. So yeah, still no. So then I looked at the big box stores and their solutions seemed to be buy this plastic thing with a sachet of chemicals, put the chemicals in water and make a sort of a liquid inside the plastic thing. Flies will then come in and die, so you create a sort of a fly soup. And once that has got too disgusting and smelly, basically put the whole thing in your bin. Yeah, that doesn't really align with anything that I'm trying to do here, so no, not doing that. So then I looked at could I make something myself, and I looked online and a lot of people had made fly traps out of fizzy drinks bottles, and they sort of chop the top off and turn it upside down, and anyway, you can find lots of those online. And I tried that. It wasn't really enough. I caught one or two flies, but not a lot, and not enough for what we have outside. And again, you are creating fly soup. So yeah, you've still got something that's all yucky, and you've still got a container that's going to go in the rubbish, and better, a lot better, but wasn't really floating my boat, just really because it wasn't doing the job. So then I found online a couple of videos that really inspired me. They're basically solar fly traps where the flies get attracted, they come into this contraption, they can't get out, and then they die in the sun and they just dry out. And then you can feed the dried out desiccated flies to your chickens as a good protein source. I thought, yes please, this is great, because this is the real circular thinking that the way nature works is very circular. There's resources, there isn't waste essentially. So I thought, brilliant, the flies are being created and attracted because of the chickens. They can then die and feed the chickens, and great, no waste. The contraption would be reusable again and again. Excellent. Only problem was they were only available in America. Very expensive, difficult to fly to New Zealand, if not impossible. And then of course you've got all those air miles and no. So I thought, well, I'd give it a go and try and make one myself. I found some plans online and I could see in the videos roughly how they were made, or the concept of how it worked. So I went op shopping, I gathered a few bits and pieces. I found some things in the big box stores that I could make it with. And I made it and I thought, yeah, brilliant. The other problem was the bait. So when the ones in America, you would buy, again, chemicals to put in it, and that would attract the flies. But obviously that's in America and we didn't have that sort of thing here. So I looked online again and found quite a few options to homemade bait for the flies. And I thought, oh, that's good. So I experimented with a few different options of how I could make my own bait, and eventually found one that worked really well. So last year we caught lots and lots of flies in this fly trap. So let's get on to it, and I'll show you how it all works, how it all goes together, and then hopefully in a couple of weeks I can show you it working with flies inside and doing the job. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the bait that I make to go in the fly trap, and it seems to work pretty well. So, well, it did last year and it caught lots of flies. So essentially what I have is, I'll just show you this. This is very important, get the lid on, safety. I don't know if you can see, there's a label on there that says fly trap only, because what happens if we get any broken eggs or anything, I put them in this Tupperware and it goes in the freezer. And then when I need to do the fly trap, I pull it out of the freezer and I take out what I need, let it defrost, take out what I need, and then I put it back in the freezer. And then if I get another egg, it goes in there and on it goes. So some of this egg in here has been going in and out of the frozen, not unfrozen, frozen quite a number of times. So it probably would kill you if you ate it. So the important thing is fly trap only at night in the freezer, but we all know that it's for the fly trap. Anyway, pretty old eggs in here. So looking at it, this is from last year, so it's old and yuck. Anyway, so the eggs are in there, and essentially what I do is I add some yeast. So this is my own recipe, made it up myself. Seems to work well. So a little bit of yeast, tablespoon, my usual measuring system, yeast in there. And then with the yeast, it's good to give the yeast something to eat, or to make it froth. And I don't know if it likes eggs. I've never really thought of that. But essentially what I've done for this recipe is I have a recipe I got off the internet called Slug Chug, which is what I use in bowls around the garden to catch my slugs and snails, which I will actually be doing quite soon because I've got to put seedlings out there and there's a lot of slugs and snails. So I've basically got the Slug Chug and I've mixed it with eggs, which go off and smell, as well as the yeast. Because I looked on the internet and there seemed to be lots of people saying that, well, essentially, try and get straight here. Yes, I know, no topic sentence here, I'm just rambling. Essentially, you've got to make something that smells worse than the chicken poo. That's basically it. More attractive and worse. So rotten eggs really attracts the flies. So the yeast also, apparently yeast can attract insects and flies and things as well. So between the two, it seems to do quite a good job. So it's essentially the Slug Chug recipe with some egg in there, and to be honest, anything else that needs a new home, anything a bit stinky, really. So, but today it's just Slug Chug and some old eggs. So Slug Chug has 2 more ingredients in it from memory. No, 3 more ingredients, I suppose. It has some sugar. So again, yeah, maybe a teaspoon, I think. Yeah, so I'm going with today. And then it has a bit of flour. So yeah, just a little bit of flour. Yeah, slum flour. And then, where's my fork? There we go. And then I just sort of mix it up. Oh, yum. Yuck. And a bit of warm water. Nice lumps in here. Doesn't matter, the flies don't mind. They will go for anything. So a bit more water. I think that should do the job. We'll go and put it in the fly trap. Okay, so this is the fly trap. Now, I am cheating a little bit because I did set this up a couple of days ago, and I've already caught some flies. I put some of the bait in the bottom, and then one of the chickens promptly knocked it over. So I stood it upright again, but it did have a little bit of bait in the bottom, so it has caught a few flies already. So, which is a good example, and you'll be able to see the flies that it kills. So this top piece is a, I think it's something you use if you're a cake maker. So essentially you put flour in it, it's up the other way, you put flour in it and you dust, or icing sugar, and you dust the top of your cakes with it. So what you can see, all my flies though, some of the flies I've caught will fly away now. Oh, bye fly. So, oh, another fly. So you can see, hopefully you can see that it's a mesh. And usually you would have it the other way up, but I've got two flies in here so I don't want to lose. Oh, I think you're going, aren't you? No? So usually you would have it the other way up. You'd put icing sugar in here and dust the top of your cake. And then this piece of aluminium is basically just a piece of aluminium that I bought from the local big box store, and I formed it into a cylinder, the appropriate size to fit inside this this cake icing piece. We've had this for years, and I don't make many cakes, so we just didn't use it, and I thought it would be the perfect thing for the fly trap. This came just straight from Bunnings. It was a piece of aluminium which I just formed into a cylinder, and then I've basically put little bolts. Let me just take this out and then you can see the pieces. Oh, you get up there. Okay, so yes, it has got some sludge on it, it's mucky. Right, so I don't know if you can see, but basically I've just put little bolts through here. I'm just trying to see if I can see it on the camera. So there's little bolts just go through here to make that into a cylinder. And then I used some of the aluminium left over it was longer, a bit longer than this. I used the remaining aluminium just to make some little feet, which I then put on with bolts again. And I drilled holes through the base just so that the smell can get out and the flies have more access into the cylinder. Now I don't know if you can see here, I'll just come up to the cameras. Can you see I put a little notch here, and I put that little notch on all of the feet, and this is what holds on the base piece. But I want to show you the inside because this is the important piece. So I don't know if you can see inside, there's a sort of a cone, and it has a little hole, a little tiny hole at the top there. And obviously at the bottom, it's a big hole. So again, I've bolted this into the cylinder so that the flies, the way this works, the flies come in and basically flies fly upwards for some reason. So they leave the bait because they can't get at it, and they fly straight up. They come up through this little hole and then go into this chamber and can't get out because they fly towards the light and they see the light upwards from because the mesh on the top, obviously, you know, you can see the light through it, and this is all opaque. So the flies fly up to the light, they come out this little hole and then come into this cylinder, and they can't get out again. They can't find that little hole again. So yeah, then what happens is, you can probably see from the inside, it's a little bit gross. I've caught some already. They basically drop down and they just die in there. Then what I can do is I can feed these to my chickens because this is a perfect source of protein for them. So that's that main piece. Now this bit, again came from the op shop. It didn't have a hole in the middle. It was completely circular. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was a microwave or a grill base, or I'm not sure. But essentially I cut out the middle here so that I could sit the bowl in it. So I have a bowl, a metal bowl, that again came from the op shop. And then I put some of this mesh over the top again, so the bait goes in there. The flies try to get to the bait, but they can't get to the bait because of this mesh, and then they just fly towards the light, which is upwards. So this just sits in there, and then I can put it up into the base and I twist it, and then these rods here just sit into those little notches that I cut in the feet, and that holds it suspended. The flies then can come in underneath here, so they, basically this is on the ground, they come in through here and through the holes, they find the bait, they smell it, they come up through this grid, because they can fly up through this grid, smell the bait, can't go anywhere, go towards the light and die in the top chamber. So essentially that's how it works. This mesh that I made the cone out of, this is just some, I think this is aluminium, but essentially it's just the fly screen, again, that you can buy at the hardware store, and it was quite cheap. I just buy it by the meter on the roll. So I just bought, I think I bought a meter, and that was ample to do this and cover the bowl, and I still have more. So in fact, if you didn't happen to have an icing sugar cake duster in your kitchen, you could easily make some form of lid just with the extra mesh to put on there. But I did this last year and it has worked brilliantly. So I'm now going to pour my stinky slug chug and egg mixture into here, and then I'll put it all together again and put it into the chicken coop. What you will find is when you first do it, you think maybe, oh, for the first couple of days it isn't working. You don't really catch many flies. But what you have to remember is you have to wait until it warms up and starts to get really stinky. So the eggs, even though they've been frozen and unfrozen and frozen and unfrozen, it takes a while for them to properly go off and smell yucky. Although, to be honest with you, I don't find the smell that bad. It's a sort of a slightly sweet sort of smell, but it isn't a chicken coop, so you don't really smell it. When you come down our path, you don't really smell that. Now, what we have found is that it likes, the fly trap seems to work best if in the morning it's in a sunny position, but then by the afternoon when it gets really hot, it's in a more shaded position. So ideally it would be an area that gets morning sun, because it gets really, really hot here, and this obviously has to stay as a liquid to keep smelling, and if you put it in a really hot spot it will dry out really quickly. But also what I've found is when it starts to get really smelly and it dries up a little bit, you can just add some water and stir it around a bit. The smell goes on for a long time. And obviously, having chickens, we do now and again get broken eggs, and when that happens I don't waste them, they just go into the freezer for the fly trap. Anyway, I hope you can see how I've made this. Please feel free to put comments or ask questions below. And what I'll also do, the inspiration for this came obviously off YouTube and off the internet, so I will put some links down below of the videos and the resources that I found that helped me construct this. This works quite well. It perhaps could be improved, but for us it works a treat, and it's this size because this is how big the metal was. There are other versions where you put them on top of buckets and put more bait in the bucket, and a few different versions, but this is sort of what I came up with, and it works for us. The only thing is it can be a little bit, it's a bit flimsy on the legs, so it can be a little bit unstable. I might do a sort of improvements this year. I'll see how it goes. I did put these little, I don't know if you can see, I put on these little hooks because originally I thought that maybe I would hang it above the chicken coop, but I found that that didn't work so well. A, because I don't have anywhere to hang it that isn't in the shade, because if I hang it in a tree, then it's in the shade, and the key thing you've got to remember is it needs to be light above it, because the flies need to see the light and fly towards the light. If it's under a tree, then it's shady and they won't come towards the light. So it needs to be in the open, and I didn't actually have anywhere to hang it that was like that. The other thing I found is that if we have a lot of wind, this basically starts to move and then the insides slop about. So I found it was better on the ground. The flies seem to find it, even though the flies maybe hang around at sort of, I don't know, this sort of height in the chicken coop. they do seem to find it quite happily by the smell. So, and as evidence, in there, it has literally been in there 3 days, and I've already caught some pretty chunky flies. Anyway, I'm going to put this bit here. It's yucky because it's just fallen over, which is a pain. It's still wet. But literally with the mesh here, I just put it on there. I just fold it over the mesh, and then so that it just grips on underneath the bowl, because the bowl has got a lip on it. Oh look, 2 flies just went into my mixture. Why are you in my mixture? As soon as I get the lid off, they're in. Right. Oh well, you'll have to be part of the solution now. Where is my stuff? So here we go. This is the fly trap only mixture. Oh look, and you can see that already that yeast has started to bubble. Yum, delicious. Ooh, yummy, yum, yum. Look. Oh, yes. It's nice and smelly. Nice and smelly. Just want to get a stick to get the rest out. Stick. No, that's not a stick. Looking for a stick. Never find a stick when you want one. Okay, found a stick. We've got a little stick. I just want to make sure that you get all the goodies, all the chunky goodies. Ugh. Right. I don't want to lose any of this precious stuff. Right. Okay. So, oh, and I've got another fly. What are you doing there? The flies are trying to get in. I need to get the lid on again and get it in position. They do love it. It hasn't even got time to get fully smelly yet, and it is covered in flies. Feel free to try out your own bait. As I say, I tried a few different things before I happened upon this. I tried, looked on the internet to see what was working, and this seemed to be a good combination. But yeah, I'm sure they would go for lots of other things if you happen to have other things, but I think the egg is a critical piece. Right, okay. Put my lid on. The advantage actually of this, having these here, is it does actually seem to lock it on as well. Not that it's in danger of coming off, but it seems to lock it on. And this is the slightly tricky bit, because I need to get the feet in the right position to pull it up. And I find it, for me, it's in this third rung. But as you can see, it's not. It is homemade, so it has little idiosyncrasies. Right, will you get in there now, please? Yeah, that one's in. That one's in. That one's in. Okay. So they're all in. Don't know if you can see now. You see it's sort of locked in the leg, and I can pick it up and move it around now because it's all locked together. So hopefully, as you can see, flies can come in here. They'll smell the bait. They'll come up through these holes, up into the chamber, and then out through the little hole at the top, because they don't go down because it's dark on the ground, it's light on the top. They come up to here through the little hole, and then they buzz around the top. And the weird thing is, the more flies you get in here and the more noise they make, the more flies are attracted to this fly trap. I mean, I don't think flies are very bright, because that to me would seem to be silly. Surely the flies would be saying, oh, we're trapped, we're trapped. Obviously not. Anyway, I obviously think there's a bit of a party going on, and that just encourages more. Right, I'll go and put it in position in the chicken coop, and then hopefully we'll start to catch some of these spring flies.